Professor, author, conference speaker, advocate for the poor, ministry leader, corporate trainer, life coach, wife and mom, Rosemary Flaaten does it all, and in the process she's had to deal with all kinds of people and situations, which has launched 2 very insightful books on relationships. Today we'll be talking to her about her newest one, A Woman and Her Workplace. Welcome, Rosemary.
Thank you, Cheryl.
It's a great topic. I definitely related as someone who's spent most of my adult life in the workplace. You applied a lot of really hard, good, character, mature Christian principles to the workplace. Why did you want to write the book?
Well, it came out of work with professional women in Calgary. It was part of something called Professional Women's Network. And I was hearing from women the struggle they would often have with relationships in particular. Sometimes it was their actual work that was causing them a struggle, but often it was the people they were working with, whether it was the grumpy boss or the coworker who just wasn't holding up their end of the work, or the gossiping person in the cubicle next to them. Whatever it was, I'd often hear them say, how do I actually build relationship? But then there was also this underlying question of, am I here for more than just to receive my paycheck? Yeah, I know I'm supposed to do good work and that is evidence of my Christian character, but is there another reason? Like, why does God have me in this job at this time and in this place?
I think that's tough too. If you're not doing something that's directly related to your passion or your faith, which, we have to make a living many times, and not all of us are fortunate to do something we love,
right.
But we like to eat. So, how do you find that purpose in the middle of something that maybe you're not enjoying?
Well, when I started researching this topic and listening to people and hearing women's stories, there was a biblical story that rose to the top for me, and that was the story of Esther. And I remember one woman saying to me, Esther, she's more of a beauty queen. Why would you include her in this book when you're talking about workplace? But the overlying theme of Esther's life is God had her in a place in that kingdom for that time. And probably the most popular common phrase from that book of the Bible is, for such a time as this. And so I've applied those biblical principles from Esther's life to this topic of, we are at this place for such a time as this. And I believe the most important thing we can do in our workplace is to love our coworkers. And that can be tough. You may not even like them. So how do you love them? But it's God's love filled up in you so that you can pass that on to the people around you.
So one of the bad habits that you address in the book is judgment, and how easy it is to judge our coworkers. Right. And you prepared an amazing clip. With this book comes a DVD.
Right.
With how many? 9 teachings is it?
No, there's 12. So
12.
One for each chapter.
One for each chapter. So we have a little clip here of one of the teachings on judgment. You're going to love it. Take a look.
Do you see the problem? We so often look at our coworkers through glasses that cause us to see them as too much of this or too little of that, until we come to someone who's like us, and basically all we see is how wonderful they are. We celebrate ourselves and we evaluate others. This impedes our ability to work as a team, and it also erodes or even blows up. A team is only effective when there's variety and when that diversity is celebrated. I want to take a look at a verse that comes at the end of a passage in Philippians, where Paul begins by telling us about a conflict between 2 people. He then goes on to draw our attention back to Christ and stresses that we need to celebrate not only what Christ has done, but each other as well.
Now that clip started with you doing a skit. I thought maybe we included that, but we didn't. Tell me, what is the skit that it starts with?
The whole premise of the little skit is that I'm walking and I mentioned Tom, or the one guy over here, and he's so bossy, and he marches down the hallway and booms commands, and that just causes me to resist even wanting to do what he has. And then over here there's another lady who she's just slow as molasses, or so and if I was even to put a fire under her chair, I'm not sure it would get her going. And then over here there's meticulous Mike, who does everything perfectly. But there's one person in the office that I just love, and she just gets me. And it's this idea that we tend to judge people by what we see, but we may only see a very small portion of them, and their personality can grate us. We may think they're actually doing something to annoy us, and it's really just being who they are. And that in a work situation, if we can just love people the way God created them to be. Romans 12:18 says, as far as it depends on you, get along with everyone. Now that doesn't mean that you have to get along with it, but do what you can as far as it depends on you. And if we were to take that into our workplaces, I think it would really make a difference in how we get along with people.
And I like what you say in the book, because you talk about, when you're angry with people or you have resentment, do some investigation. Look into why they're acting the way they're acting, or what's happening in their lives.
Right. Yeah. If you investigate and not have I'm going to figure that one out. Much more just, I wonder what's going on. And I use a story in the book of a guy who kept coming into work late, and he was, the one morning he came and his eyes were bloodshot and his hair was a mess and clothes that he'd worn 2 or 3 days in a row. And the coworker that was telling the story said, I was sure he was probably been out drinking all night. Well, as she started to investigate it a bit more, he was actually at the hospice during the night with his mother who was dying. And so we realize how we can make these quick judgments about why people are doing things or who they are, and we really see just a very small piece of it.
And talk to me about forgiveness. I have this great quote I put up on my Facebook page, and I got so much comment on it. And it's so simple. It says, learning not to take offense to what others do brings so much freedom. That means you don't speak about it with others, but simply place it before God and leave it there. See past their action and into their pain and say a prayer. Anna Queering. Everybody commented on this.
Yeah.
What is the role of forgiveness in a workplace?
People are going to do things to us that bug us, that hurt us. It might be slander. They might maybe take credit for some of the work that you've done. And there are just reasons for being angry. But when we take that anger past being angry at what they did and attach it to the person, and we become angry with them, it creates a distance. We don't want to be around people that we are angry with. And so by choosing to forgive, that does break it. But something that I have found that takes it actually beyond forgiveness, and that is kindness. That when somebody has hurt me, they've done something, if I can find a way, and it only comes supernaturally, but asking God, show me a way that I can be kind to that person. When I do that act of kindness to them, it actually eradicates the need for forgiveness. It's like I don't forget what happens, but I'm detached from it. And that's a story of Joseph's life. He didn't just forgive what his brothers did. It says right at the end of Genesis in chapter 50 that he spoke kindly of them and to them. Kindness is the only thing I have found that actually stops the need for that ongoing forgiveness.
I find prayer too. If you pray for the person that you are angry with, and especially people who don't like you, I find all of a sudden they find this incredible love for you in their heart, and you for them. And it's like, how did that turn around? They don't even know that you're praying for them and blessing them. And blessing them.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, what about lying in the workplace? You come in late, you don't want to admit that you just stayed up too late watching a movie or reading a book or whatever you were doing, so you make up some excuse about traffic or...
This was a statistic that at first I found really hard to believe, but I have seen it played out, and that is that the average person, I'm not talking a pathological liar here, the average person gives a deception 3 times every 10 minutes during a conversation. Wow. So, and those may be just little subtle things where we try to fit in, or we want to boost up our competence somehow, or even downplay something that we've done.
Or not tell them the truth about their new haircut.
Absolutely. Whatever it is, we just shade the truth in some way. So 3 times every 10 minutes. But I believe that that's really dishonoring to our faith, to our relationship with God, and that God calls us to be real, to be honest, and that leads into integrity. And that in the workplace, if we're known as people who tell the truth, people don't have to try and prod to get the whole truth, but when we say yes, we mean yes, and when we say no, we mean no, and that people can count on us. And that's Christ living out of us.
What about ambition? A lot of people have ambition and goals, and ambition is not a bad thing for working hard, but when it starts to take over everything you do and everything that you have, how do we as people of faith deal with that?
I think God can give us passion for things, and hopefully we're at a job working where we have passion. But we have to be really careful that we don't use people as stepping stones. So we would step on people to get to where we are. That God, if we look at each person that we're working with as an opportunity to share His love and His forgiveness and His compassion, then those people will be the important part of the job. And when we get to that place where God has that passion, that vision that He's given us, we can say thank you, but we've encouraged, we've built up people as we've gone versus pushed them aside or stepped on them.
And you actually took 1 Corinthians 13, which we call the love chapter, love is kind, love is patient, that one, and you applied it to the workplace. I want to read just a little bit of it, but we put the whole thing on our blog, so if you're at home, you want to take a look at that and read the whole thing, I think it's really inspiring. Because I love the people I work with, I will never give up on them. I will care more for others at my workplace than for myself. Because I choose to love my coworkers, I will not want what they have. Because I care about my coworkers, I will not strut or brag about my successes. That's just the beginning.
Yeah.
It's challenging. How do we live up to that challenge? It's just, you know, like some days you're just trying to survive.
Yeah, well, I think where's our focus? If our primary focus when we get up in the morning is, okay, I got this to do, I've got to get this job done, or I hate going to this work, but I've got to, as compared to, okay, God, what opportunity do you have today? And be in His Word, be filled up with that, allow that to spill out in a very natural way. People will be attracted to us. We will have a chance to share of our faith when we do that. And because from my own experience, that when I keep Christ in first place in my life, those other second place things, including my job and all the angst that goes with it, does fall into place.
And there's so much more in this book that we didn't get to. You talk about dealing with bosses, about being part of a team, working with men, working with women. You know, there's, and of course a DVD you've included with 12 teachings in it. Yeah. So much here that you want to get your hands on. I know that you'll enjoy this so much. And you know, really this applies across the board.
It does. You know, a lot of people that have written me and said, you know, I don't actually go to work. I'm a stay-at-home mom, or I'm retired, but I'm on a volunteer committee. Maybe I volunteer for the United Way or the Parent-Teacher Association. Whatever kind of working relationships you have, even if you're not getting a paycheck, the principles here apply. And it's not just for women either. Men certainly can
these apply
from it as well.
Absolutely across the board. So if you want to get a copy of this book, go to our e-store. We have a page here. You can go to www.crossroads.ca, get the book, the DVD, everything, and I know that you'll really enjoy it. Rosemary, thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thank you.
So appreciate what you've done, and I'm very challenged.
Thank you.
We'll have more of the show just after this.